Back from the holiday weekend, USC hits the road for a tough slate of games in a bunch of different sports.
We break down all those big matchups, including this weekend's NFL Draft Combine. Let's get this party started.
We're back with another episode of Sports Scene from Studio C in the Annenberg School for Communication and Journalism. I'm Ken Masenchi.
And I'm Evan Budrovich. The Trojans will be all across the country this week, but first we start close to home.
Trojans men's volleyball is number 3 in the country after a split with BYU last weekend and take on 2 Southern California rivals this week, traveling to Santa Barbara on Wednesday and UCLA on Sunday. Both are ranked in the top 15, but USC welcomes the challenge.
I think we play in probably the toughest conference in the country. Every night we have to go out there and know that we're going to be tested.
We're going to be playing with the best teams in the country probably twice a week. That gives us confidence knowing that we're going to be at the top of our game.
The Trojans are tied atop the Mountain Pacific Sports Federation standings with BYU after splitting their last 2 series against Hawaii and BYU. So let's talk about the number 3 ranked Trojans. First off, let's talk about, are there concerns with fatigue after splitting these last 2 road trips? After they started only losing 5 sets in their first 8 matches, they've lost 10 in the last 4 matches.
Well, the MPSF is the SEC of football for the volleyball, so of course you have tough competition every week. More importantly, though, you're playing, as you mentioned, 2 games a week like Coach was talking about. That's a lot of time on the court for these guys, and regardless of the rotations they have, you'd have to imagine as the season wears on, it's a lot more challenging to win games against the UCLAs, the BYUs of the world, who are very good teams, and to be in those 5-set matches, it can be very difficult.
Now let's look ahead to their 2 opponents. First is UC Santa Barbara. They lost last year, 5-set kind of showdown where USC led the first 2 sets and then lost the last 3. How do they avenge that loss this year?
Well, focus. And that's the thing we've seen with this team, already playing multiple 5-set matches. I think they understand that you cannot lose these type of games when you get the early leads. They came from behind just last week. I think the method's just the same this time. You get ahead early against Santa Barbara, and then you can really put the foot on the pedal.
And then lastly, UCLA. It's always a big match. USC has won 9 of the last 13. How do they keep that rolling?
Well, the one part of the Crosstown Cup USC actually does well in is volleyball. Obviously, the outside hitters have been great, but we mentioned Micah Christensen there in the interview. Just a solid leadership to get you through a tough match on the road. That can really propel you to a big win. All
right, and Wednesday's match starts at 7, and then Sunday's match will be televised on Pac-12 Network, and it begins at 7:30.
Women's lacrosse is back in business, flying into some cold conditions this week as they face Stony Brook and Marist. And the women of Troy looking forward to that East Coast swing.
The women of Troy lacrosse team practiced at McAllister Field Tuesday, preparing for a 2-game road trip to New York this weekend. The team is looking to bounce back from a tough 12-11 overtime loss against Northwestern about 2 weeks ago, but the women of Troy will use that loss as motivation going forward.
The loss really kind of pumped us up. And got us really excited for this road trip because Stony Brook and Marist are really good teams also. So I think we really just want to prove ourselves that it wasn't a fluke, that we went into overtime with such a good team.
Several members of the squad call the East Coast home, but the cold might not give either team the upper hand.
We did grow up playing in the cold, and I think for at least Stony Brook's game, with it being almost 10 degrees that night, I think it's going to be just freezing for both teams, so I don't know if either team has an edge really.
The women of Troy will leave for New York on Thursday morning and then will play Stony Brook on Friday afternoon to begin their 2-game road trip.
Reporting for Sports Scene, I'm James McDaniels.
Thanks, James. USC is just 1-4 all time on the East Coast, but are up to number 21 now in the latest rankings. This East Coast heavy squad could actually have some awesome family support coming up for the 2-game stretch. And now let's get some more insight on our women's lacrosse team with Ken Masenchi.
Thanks, Evan. I'm joined on the couch here with sophomore attacker Michaela Michael. Michaela, thanks for joining us. So, first question I have, we just heard from you in the lacrosse story. It's been a week since that Northwestern game. What do you guys take away from it?
I think we were really excited actually coming off of that game. It was kind of a heartbreaker, like we talked about, but only losing to a top 5 team in the country by 1 goal in overtime, I think that makes us really excited for the rest of our season and especially for these 2 upcoming games.
And staying with that game, in the crowd there were a lot of kids with their sticks, just ready to go. How are you seeing the game of lacrosse grow around here?
It's awesome. We have for the first time, we have all these commits that are actually kind of local. We've got San Diego girls coming up. So the game's really, really growing. I'm from Northern California, so I know that it was really small when I was growing up playing. And so many more people are playing now, which is awesome.
And yeah, there's only 8 of you from California on a squad of about 35. How do you keep that Cali vibe here, or is it becoming this East Coast dominant team?
I mean, it's definitely East Coast dominant, but having the school be out here, kind of all the East Coast girls think they're Cali girls now, so it's all evening out.
Well, now they're heading home basically for these 2 games this weekend, but you're going to kind of be the West Coast girl going East Coast.
Yeah.
How are you guys preparing for the elements over there? It's going to be snowy, possibly raining. It's going to be freezing compared to what it is here. How are you guys preparing for that this week?
Yeah, we, I don't know if you saw in the clip yesterday, but we were wearing our long sleeves, wearing long pants, gloves. We're really trying everything that we can right now to get ourselves prepared, especially the California girls who've kind of never played in that before. So I think we'll be ready for it.
And so these 2 opponents, Stony Brook, Marist, you've played Marist before. What do you remember from them, and what are you looking forward to this weekend?
We played Marist last year in really bad conditions, kind of like what we're going to see. So we just have to be ready for those conditions. I think last time we were kind of shocked by all the rain. It was our first game of the season. So I think, I don't know, another year under our belt, we're really ready. But they're a tough team. So. And
now this is the 3rd year of the program here at USC. You've been here 2 of the years now. How are you seeing it evolve? You're going from an 8-10 team the first year before you were here, 9-9 last year. What are the expectations this year?
Definitely going up from there. I see us having a really good season. I think we're such a different team than we were last year, and especially 2 years ago. Last year we had a couple games where we beat our first ranked opponent, and we got really close with Boston College. And I'm thinking this year, like, these close games they're gonna be wins this year. So we're excited.
And how important is it to go to the East Coast and beat those teams on the East Coast, because the West is kind of new to the sport of lacrosse?
Oh, it's really important. These are some of our biggest games. Like we said, we haven't won a game on our East Coast trips yet. So getting a big win on these trips would be huge.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us. Good luck. And now we send it back to Evan at the desk.
And now for this week's segment of Trojan Horse, I'm joined by childhood actor turned journalist Jeremy Bergman. Bergman, you seem a little distraught at the moment, but we will talk about the NFL Draft Combine. Leonard Williams, the big Trojan coming out. We know Jameis Winston and Mariota, the top quarterbacks. Why would you pick Leonard Williams number 1?
Leonard Williams number 1 would be a great choice just because he's the most physical and the most athletic prospect in the Combine. Jameis Winston, if you've seen the pictures of him recently, he's looking a little tubby, and we know he has a problem with stealing lobster legs and crab legs, so I would hold back on Jameis because of the off-the-field issues, and that means that Leonard Williams would be your number 1 pick. Marcus Mariota, as we saw in the championship game, has a couple issues with maturity and just having the NFL-ready arm. So Leonard Williams, we saw him play so well at USC, such a powerful force on the D-line that it'd be hard to pass him up, I'd say.
So despite some shoulder injuries in Leonard's career, he'll certainly be a top 5 pick. I think that's no discussion there. But you look at USC overall, 2 years in a row, no first-round picks. How does that change this year? With Leonard Williams, of course, but why is it starting to change?
Well, it's starting to change because after the sanctions, I think we saw USC play much better and the players just become more professional, playing in more professional environments like bowl games and whatnot. I'd say somebody to look out for in the first round is maybe Josh Shaw, a sleeper pick.
For first round?
For first round, just because, you know, he didn't play a lot this year because of the nephew incident.
Right.
So I'd like to see at the Combine this week if Josh Shaw can maybe show the NFL execs how well he had played in 2013 when he had 4 picks. He was such an important part of the program. So I think maybe he could sneak in.
Okay, so we know that Nelson Aguilar left, and the receiving core is going to be hurt because of that. But looking at his potential, what do you think of Nelson in this Combine?
Nelson Aguilar looks a lot like Marquise Lee coming out a couple years, I think last year.
Right.
Marquise Lee came out in the early second round to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Nelson had similar numbers this year, similar production, so I could definitely see him going in the second round or maybe early third.
And is there a guy you think that has to have a great performance at this Combine and really step up?
Well, Hayes Pollard, definitely. But there's one person that stands out to me that's not at the Combine, and that's George Farmer. A big surprise when he actually decided to come out from USC because he had so many injuries at USC. He tore an ACL and MCL in spring ball in 2013. His production wasn't very great. He only had 4 touchdown catches this year. So George Farmer needs to really improve at USC Pro Day and try to get his name on the market because he came out with Nelson Aguilar. I mean, he came out with Robert Woods and Marquise Lee out of Serra, but he's the last one to come into the NFL.
I'll put you on the spot real quick. Of the 7 Trojans going to the Combine, how many of them get drafted coming up in April?
I'd say 5.
5
maybe leaving out Hayes Pollard and Randall Telfer.
So that wraps up this week's Trojan Horse segment. Keep in mind, the Combine, just the start of good things coming for SC. Well, let's check in on all the latest sports news around campus. Here's Reed Silverman with my favorite segment, Lighting the Torch.
Thanks, Evan. It's time to light the torch. But in this edition, we'll be taking a trip all around the U.S. for USC Athletics. First, we start with men's volleyball traveling to compete against UCSB in sunny Santa Barbara on Wednesday. Moving out of state, men's basketball travels to Tucson to face 7th-ranked Arizona Wildcats. Back to California, the 12th-ranked women's tennis team will head to Northern California to take on UC Berkeley on Friday. And heading up to Utah, the men's swimming team heads to take on the Utes on Friday. Wrapping up in New York, women's lacrosse takes on number 16 Stony Brook. The men's swimming team is coming off an outstanding performance against Stanford, shocking the 12th-ranked Cardinal 2 weeks ago. They believe the little things are what will really make a difference for them against Utah.
We've definitely been trying to tune up our technique a lot, work on more emphasis on your turns, like get off the walls faster. The little things that are often overlooked when you're training hard throughout the season, but definitely play a crucial factor when it comes down to racing time.
This will be the Trojans' last regular season meet before heading to Washington for the Pac-12 championships the first week of March. Moving into the Southwest, believe it or not, USC's men's basketball is 1 win away from a winning streak. It's happened before, but not since the month of November. USC wants to keep that confidence alive against Pac-12 leader Arizona. The team is coming off an 80-75 victory over Oregon State that snapped a 9-game losing streak. The Trojans are looking for their first road victory of 2015 and will face off against Arizona on Thursday before heading to Tempe to take on Arizona State on Sunday. As the women's tennis team shifts their focus to back-to-back matches in NorCal, the Trojans are serious about making sure they're at the top of their game every day.
Everyone's playing well, but I think it's just playing well every single day, and when we play the good teams, everyone needs to show up, just staying consistent, especially against the tough teams, because all the best teams, they show up every day.
The team is coming off an impressive weekend where they upset 11th-ranked Vanderbilt and shut out 25th-ranked Texas. Well, that's the latest from around USC's campus with our heavy focus on the strong non-revenue programs heading into action. Let's check out the final Trojan news and notes.
Well, it turns out Lane Kiffin was ahead of his time in recruiting middle school quarterback David Sills. Rivals.com is now tracking recruits from the 2021 class, or your good old 6th grade football players. Darren Braden is a 5'2" quarterback with a big arm and previously appeared on Kids Say the Darndest Things when he faced off against Matt Hasselbeck. And Tyson Thornton is already 5'11" in 6th grade and is a running back from Massachusetts. It's never too early to start recruiting 6 years in the future.
Now back to the present. Somebody who was quite possibly on Scouts' radar in 6th grade is Isaac Whitney, one of the newest additions to the Trojan football team. Whitney has been active on Twitter, expressing his excitement for a new spring football starting in a couple weeks. The top-ranked junior college wideout said, "I was blessed with a very special opportunity. Now I have to prove why I was given this opportunity." Check out Whitney, 200 balls on the jug machine every day. That's a lot of practice getting in there, all those good reps. And he just said, just a good day, study session, day 1 installs with Cody. Spring ball is near. Let's get it. March is just around the corner, and Whitney will be competing for the starting job this spring across from the freshman turned sophomore standout, Juju Smith.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us from Studio C. My name is Ken, and I'm with Evan B.
And you have just watched Sports Scene. See you later, everybody.